Chef Bukola was the most famous chef in all of Abuja. Her restaurant, Gourmet Haven, was the best place to eat fine food in the whole city. Everyone knew about it. Rich people, powerful senators, and even important foreign guests came to eat there. The restaurant was beautiful, with fancy tables and bright lights, and people paid a lot of money to eat there. Chef Bukola was very strict and serious about her work. She always wore a white chef's coat that was clean and perfect, and her tall chef's hat made her look even more important. She shouted at her workers all the time, making sure everything in the kitchen was perfect. "This is not good enough," she would yell if a dish was slightly wrong. If someone made a mistake, Bukola would get very angry and sometimes fire them right away. The workers were all scared of her. They worked as hard as they could, but it was never enough to make her happy. In the middle of all the noise and shouting in the kitchen, there was a quiet young woman named Amaka. She worked as a dishwasher at Gourmet Haven. Amaka spent her days washing piles of pots and plates, scrubbing them until her hands were sore. She wore a faded apron and tied a scarf over her hair to keep it out of the way. She was small and quiet, and most people didn't even notice she was there. But Amaka had a secret. She wasn't just an ordinary dishwasher. She was the eldest daughter of the Emir of Zaria, one of the most powerful kings in Nigeria. Amaka had grown up in a royal palace, surrounded by servants and luxury. Her father, the Emir, and her mother, the queen, wanted Amaka to understand how ordinary people lived. They sent her to Abuja to work hard and learn about life outside the palace. Amaka agreed because she wanted to be a good leader someday, and she knew she had to understand the struggles of regular people. Even though Chef Bukola was harsh and rude, Amaka stayed calm. She never complained. Even when Bukola shouted at her, she worked quietly, keeping her royal secret to herself. The other workers liked her because she was kind and polite, but they didn't know who she really was. One busy afternoon, Amaka was washing dishes when she accidentally dropped a plate. It fell to the floor and broke into pieces with a loud crash. The whole kitchen went silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Chef Bukola turned around, her face full of anger. "Amaka! Useless girl!" Bukola shouted as she marched toward her. "Do you know how expensive that plate is? Do you think we can afford to break things in this restaurant?" "I'm very sorry, chef," Amaka said softly, looking down at the floor. She bent to pick up the broken pieces, her hands shaking a little. Bukola glared at her. "You're lucky I don't fire you right now," she yelled. The other workers felt sorry for Amaka, but they didn't say anything. Nobody wanted Bukola to get mad at them too. Amaka just nodded and kept working quietly, even though she felt embarrassed. One day, something very important happened. The restaurant got a last-minute booking from a group of foreign guests. These guests were very important people, and everything had to be perfect. Chef Bukola made the kitchen work twice as hard to prepare for the evening. She yelled louder than usual, telling everyone to hurry up and do better. The workers ran around the kitchen, trying to keep up, but suddenly, something went wrong. The sous chef, who was in charge of cooking the main dish, accidentally burned it. Smoke filled the air, and the food was ruined. The sous chef looked terrified as Chef Bukola walked over, her face red with anger. "You are useless," she screamed. "How can you ruin such an important dish? I will fix this myself because none of you can do anything right." She stormed out of the kitchen, leaving everyone in shock. The workers stood frozen, unsure of what to do. Nobody wanted to make things worse. But then, Amaka stepped forward. "I can help," she said calmly. The workers turned to look at her. "You? You're just a dishwasher," one of them said, frowning. "I know how to cook," Amaka said. Her voice was steady. "Trust me. Let me try." The workers didn't believe her, but nobody else had a better idea. Slowly, they moved aside, giving her space. Amaka tied her scarf tighter around her hair, rolled up her sleeves, and got to work. She went to the pantry and gathered ingredients. Yosenia's hair hands moved quickly and confidently as she prepared a dish she had learned from her mother in the royal palace. Jollof stuffed guinea fowl with spiced coconut rice and a mango chili glaze. The workers watched in silence as Amaka cooked. They could smell the delicious aroma of suya spices, fresh tomatoes, and ginger filling the air. When the dish was ready, it was taken out to the dining room and served to the guests. The kitchen staff waited nervously. Then, after a moment, they heard applause. "Who made this wonderful dish?" one of the guests asked loudly. "It is extraordinary!" Chef Bukola rushed out of the kitchen smiling. "That would be me," she lied. But the head waiter shook his head. "No, chef. The dish was made by Amaka, our dishwasher." Everyone in the dining room gasped. The workers in the kitchen peeked out, watching as Amaka walked into the room. She looked nervous but kept her head high. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" one of the guests asked. Before Amaka could answer, a deep, commanding voice spoke. "She learned from the best." Everyone turned to see a group of people entering the restaurant. At the front was a tall man wearing royal robes and a jeweled turban. It was the Emir of Zaria, Amaka's father. His royal guards followed closely behind him. Gasps filled the room. Chef Bukola's face turned pale. "Your Highness," she said, bowing. I didn't know." The Emir ignored her and walked straight to Amaka. He smiled at his daughter. "You have made us very proud," he said. "Your mother and I always knew you would do great things." Bukola stared in shock. The quiet dishwasher was a princess. Amaka turned to Bukola and said calmly, "Chef Bukola, I came here to learn about life outside the palace. I've seen how you treat people, and it's not right. You should treat everyone with respect, no matter who they are." The Emir nodded. "This restaurant will now be supported by the royal family, but under one condition. Amaka will take over and ensure that the workers are treated fairly." Bukola had no choice but to step down. Under Amaka's leadership, Gourmet Haven became a place of kindness and teamwork. The workers were no longer afraid. They worked happily, knowing they were respected. Amaka showed everyone that being a leader isn't about power or titles. It's about treating people with care and respect. And in the end, she proved that kindness is the true mark of royalty. The moral of the story is that true leadership is not about power, authority, or titles, but about treating people with kindness, respect, and fairness. When we value others and create an environment of care and support, we inspire teamwork and excellence, proving that compassion is the foundation of greatness. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Be part of my growth. Thank you.